Tanner Taylor at the piano, Steve Charleston, Zane Gedler. These guys are going to be around to play a lot more stuff for you, but it's time to get moving on here. My name is John Krantz, if you don't know who I am, and I want to welcome you to what is going to be another very, very special event tonight, and a fun evening with great music, camaraderie, and a lot of heartfelt spoken word, I'm sure. But a little bit of history about this event. It was about 22 years ago, I approached Phyllis Leverton and Abe Goldstein about doing a fundraiser under the auspices of the Community Jazz Center that would recognize Des Moines jazz heroes, not only concentrating on the history of the jazz that we had here in Des Moines, but also encapsulating the present musicians, the people that are out there now, but mostly, and also including the the younger students, the young generations of budding jazz musicians, because that is really the mission of the CJC, and Abe will probably tell you more about that later. But when we started doing this, we really researched and interviewed dozens of older musicians to make sure that we were getting it right, especially the history of the Center Street jazz scene, back in the late 40s, 50s, 60s. We had several people on our nominating committee that had a lot of input on it. Dwight Deason was involved early on. We had a lot of people come through. The late pianist Stu Calhoun. The late, great Frank Tribble was on our committee for a while. And the sometimes late, but sometimes punctual, Scott Davis, who's here with us tonight. We didn't know if this idea would exist past the first year, but 125 people showed up for our first event, so we kept it going, and here we are. It started in 2001, and 2020 was going to be, of course, our 20th anniversary. And you know what happened in 2020? We canceled last year's October event. Then we thought, we'll move it to April, which is Jazz Appreciation Month, and we'll have our 21st anniversary last April. And of course, you know what happened. Things kept going on, and so we had to cancel that again. But here we are. Just like when I was here for the opening night of the Des Moines Big Band a few weeks ago, Dave Rezek wasn't sure what to call how many years they'd been together because they were dark for a year. There was no music. And so, we're going to call this here we are 21 years later. This is the 20th anniversary of the CJC Hall of Fame. Thank you. And we're sticking with that. But we selected tonight's honorees, a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. And we're sticking with those choices. I think we've all waited long enough. We've all waited long enough. It's time to move on. But okay, just as a little side story here, I attended a classical concert produced by Civic Music a few nights ago, and it was amazing. And we came back from intermission, and the pianist was about to start his Chopin part of the program, and Penny and I were whispering, and he started, and a woman 2 rows in front of me turned around and went, shush! And I was kind of embarrassed, but, we didn't think anybody could hear us, and a few minutes later, she turns around and glares at us again, and I thought, if she does that again, I'm going to wave at her with my middle finger. I'm glad it didn't come to that, but my point is, this is a jazz event, okay? And we are all family here, and we all speak the same language. So it's a different protocol than a classical concert. If you guys want to tap your feet, snap your fingers, yell, whatever you want to do to show the performers that you're enjoying the music tonight, I encourage you to do that. So at any rate, my point is, that's my point. Let the performers know how you feel tonight. Let them know that you're enjoying what they're doing. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into the first award. And I don't know where Abe is, but here to present the Bobby Dawson Award this year is someone that you all know. Jazz radio host, concert promoter, the director of CJC. In fact, he is CJC. There's nobody else. He is the CJC guy. My friend and partner in this project, Abe Goldstein.
All right, thank you. When he said I'm CJC, that brought up a point of something I wanted to say, because I was at the CJC Big Band concert last Sunday. Someone came up to me and asked me how they could help CJC. No one ever asked me that, rarely. So I want to say the answer is yes, we need your help. And no, I'm not a rabbi or a priest asking you to donate to a church, okay? Trust me on that one. We need something more valuable than money. We need your time and input. So if you're interested, you can help promote the jam sessions. You can help promote the big band sessions. You can help assist with the middle school festival. You can help to plan and manage our April Jazz Appreciation Concert. You can help by being part of the CJC Hall of Fame Committee. You can help by taking an active role on our board. You can help by shaping the future of CJC. So yes, we need your help. So feel free to reach out to me tonight. My email's on everything, my phone number's on everything, because yes, indeed, any help is more than welcome. So I hope that answered that individual's question, and maybe some of you who are thinking about joining us in celebrating the past, present, and future of jazz in Des Moines. and you don't have to give us any money to do that, other than your tickets for tonight, okay? So, before I present the Bobby Dawson Award, I want to thank those musicians who helped make the jam sessions possible. So these have happened since Phyllis Leverton is over there, since she got involved in CJC back in the late 1980s, okay? Happens the first Sunday of every month, and we depend on a whole cast of rhythm players to support the young musicians that show up. So before we award anything, I want to recognize some of those players. Some of them may be here, but it would be well. Sam Salamone, who couldn't make it, is always there on keyboard. Lately, when he hasn't been able to make it, Tanner Taylor has jumped in, so thank you, Tanner. Okay. Dave Altemeyer is usually our bass player. And when Dave can't show up, we have the pleasure of having Randy Ward play bass, who's here somewhere. And on drums, Nick Adalia, who moved to Chicago, used to help us out. Now Blake Hubble helps us out. And on those days when I can't make a jam session, we have Scott Davis scare the kids away, okay? So we should give them all credit for taking time out to help some of these young musicians. Okay. So let's start. Bobby Dawson Award. Anybody know who Bobby Dawson was? Yes. Go ahead, give it to us. Come on, I'm not going to do all the work here, Wayne. Who was Bobby Dawson? Jazz pianist and bass player, I think. Right, used to come to all the jam sessions and just marvel at the kids that were up there playing, always loved the music, so that's why we named it the Bobby Dawson Award. And they'd like to see the musicians grow, and the two musicians we're presenting with tonight definitely grew since attending their first CJC jam session when they were in middle school. They grew as musicians, which you'll hear in a few minutes, but as you'll learn, they also grew as individuals, gaining valuable non-musical skills as a result of the jam session. Now, we could not present the award to our first winner when he was a senior at Waukee last year, so we'll do it tonight. And fortunately, he's attending University of Iowa, so he had no excuse for not showing up. Okay? Marvin Truong, I can remember the first time he came to a jam session. I can't remember whether he brought his sax, but chances are, even if he did not open it up. It's amazing how many kids come and they bring their case, but they get, I mean, why would they be intimidated with Scott Davis? I don't get it. But they won't play, and I'll try to coax them, and they still won't play, and they'll come to the next session. Maybe the third session, like Marvin, they start playing, and they start learning from the other players, from the students, from the professionals that they have there. And Marvin was one of those that kept coming and learning and playing. I can't even count on my hand if he missed any of them. And when he wasn't playing at the jam session, he was playing in the CJC combo. I think he played with the CJC big band. The kids formed their own combo that played around town. He was playing in all the bands in his high school. So he was very busy. But this story really talks about his character. One of the last sessions he came to, there was I believe he was in 7th grade, an alto player. Brought his alto, and it sat in his case. And I just said to Marvin, hey, Marvin, would you mind going over and telling the kid about your experience? And Marvin went over there and told the kid about, hey, I was the same way, afraid to get, but do it, it's fun. Kid came the second week, had a lot of fun, he'll keep coming. So that's the legacy of the jam sessions, helping musicians grow, to help other younger musicians, and that's the character that Marvin is, and he's keeping that tradition alive. So because of that and his playing, we'd like to welcome Marvin to the stage. Where is, oh. All right. CJC presents Marvin, our Bobby Dawson Award. This award is presented in recognition of outstanding instrumental performance and involvement with CJC jam sessions by a student musician, presented at our Hall of Fame. Thank you. So thank you. Thank you. And I should tell you that that kid came back. I don't think you were there.
Oh,
He
yeah.
played Groovin' High.
Nice.
Not a easy tune for a seventh grader, right? All right, so hang on while we introduce the next one. So the reason I mentioned David Altemeyer earlier is because he's going to really miss this next Bobby Dawson Award winner because he was a bassist. So David would play one tune, and then I would say, okay, we're going to play this tune. And David, oh, Spencer can do that one. And David would spend the next 2 hours drinking coffee and reading a book in back of Java Joe's. So that's what would happen. So he's going to miss me. He's also a student of Dave's. So David taught Spencer to play so good that he usually turned the bass chair over to him while he did stuff, and those days are over for David. Spencer was more than capable of holding his own with Sam. Tanner can vouch for it. Tanner had a chance to play with him at the past 2 jam sessions, and the drummers could vouch for him. And Spencer can probably list CJC on his resume with the jam session, with the combos, with the big band, which he played with last weekend, and like Marvin and all the formal and informal groups associated with high school. That's the musical end. But the one thing I noticed how Spencer grew was the self-confidence he had in himself. And that reminds me of 2 years ago, my wife and I brought an Italian pianist and bassist to Des Moines, Andrea Dominici and Fabio Sciacca. Thank you, dear. Shows you how much I remember stuff. They played a couple retirement communities. Spencer couldn't make it to their performance at Casp Terrace. Oh, that reminds me. Hey, I'm still got advertising in my blood, right? Jackie and I will be having a concert at Casp Terrace on December 5th. There's information in your program about it. Chris Byers, an alto player. Ari Rowland, a bass player. And Pasquale Grasso, a guitar player. So there's information in it, so check that out. Now, what was I talking about? Oh, Spencer. So Spencer comes to this performance at a retirement community, and I introduce him to Andrea. And in the middle of their performance, Andrea says, there's a young bass player out here we'd like to have come up. All right, so what were you, in 10th grade, Spencer? Sounds good? It's not right, it just sounds good, like a good story, right? Spencer comes up there without any hesitation. No, I left my bass home or my bass is packed in the back. He nailed it, okay? And they really appreciated it. I just talked to Andrea a couple weeks ago, and I asked him, hey, remember, I was telling him about your award, Spencer. I said, remember that young bassist you played with? You know what Andrea's response was? He's not a young bassist. He is a bassist. So Spencer Paulson, come on up. He gets the other Bobby Dawson Award for this year. Oh. Wait a minute. So I asked you the question thinking you're out there, and I thought I heard your voice from out there. Did I? So you can throw your voice too and play bass? All right. Community Jazz Center presents Spencer Paulson, our Bobby Dawson Award presented in recognition of outstanding instrumental performance and involvement with CJC jam sessions by a student musician. Okay. We already miss Marvin on the Sundays, except he shows up when he's in town. We're definitely going to miss Spencer. David Altemeyer is going to cry, okay? But we won't be spending that much money on coffee anymore, so it's a washout. So here are Spencer and Marvin with, is the rhythm section coming on? Zane Gedler used to come to our jam sessions, and that's what CJC is all about. And of course, Tanner has helped out the past 2 times and helping out again at the November jam session. So.
One, two, three, four.
Spencer and Marvin now. This is maybe my last time to put them on the spot because, you know, they're graduating and won't come to jam sessions. And I forgot to say, if you would like to say anything about the experience or, you know, thank your fans, now's your time. Marvin? That'll give you time to think about it.
I would just like to thank, I have a lot of former teachers just educators and people who have helped me just, I wouldn't be where I would, like standing here receiving this Bobby Dawson Award without Abe, the jam sessions, Mr. Page up here teaching me from 8th and 9th grade. So I just want to thank everybody out there who's helped me get to this point. And just receiving this award just means a ton to me. It's always good to be back home, seeing familiar faces, just because I'm up at the University of Iowa. So it's always nice just being back here. So just thank you Noce, for hosting this wonderful event. Yep.
So a while back, Abe had me write down some answers to some questions about, I think it was for like a press release maybe, about this event. But it got me thinking about sort of the impact that the CJC has had on me in working with the jam sessions. So I want to thank Abe first of all for you've done a lot. Oh yeah. Yeah, well, thank you. It's been tremendous. It's helped me a lot. I think, like you said, confidence. Just getting over like the stage fright that I see a lot of people experience who maybe haven't had as much chance to perform as we get at the jam session. You know, you kind of have to get over that and you realize that there's not much to it. You just gotta get out there and not be afraid to put yourself out there. And I want to thank Mr. Page and my other teachers. You know, working with you freshman year and then over the past couple of years, I know it's been a great experience for me. And also for a lot of my classmates, so I want to thank you for that. Yeah. And then Marvin. And a lot of that too at the jam session, getting to work with players from other schools, and then also from people, you know, at my school that maybe I wouldn't get to see as much otherwise. You know, he's a couple years older than me, so getting to connect and work with people from other schools and in different ages has been a great experience for me. So.
I can't let this one go, Spencer. Being the father of a former upright bass player, who else do you want to thank for schlepping stuff around?
Oh, man. Oh, no. Yeah. I'd like to thank my family. Always offering to carry the bass, even if I don't necessarily want them to. It's always good to have that option. But then also, for all the other support you've given me along this journey, and I know it wouldn't have been possible without you, so thanks.
Thank you, guys. Spencer Paulson and Marvin Truong. Good to know that we've got a future of jazz in Des Moines. The next award we have is one that we started, I guess it's been 10 or 12 years ago now. It's called the Next Generation Award. And this award, we decided to do something that recognized those people that were, you know, beyond student years, but maybe not the old pros. And we kind of called it for those that were 30 or under. Well, I know that our next honoree had his 31st birthday this week. But when because of COVID, he was 29 years old when we decided to honor him with this award. So here to present the next award is an accomplished musician, trumpeter, leader of the Des Moines Big Band, Mr. Dave Rezick.
Thank you, John. So I don't break my back. Hey now, Mr. Schumacher. Where is Antonio? Just so I know where I'm looking at. Oh, he's backstage because he's getting ready to play. Okay. Okay. Well, I've got a few words to say about Antonio here. Thank you, John, for giving me the opportunity to present this award tonight. I'm very excited to present this to Antonio. I wanted to talk a little bit about my experiences with Antonio and then talk a little bit about his accomplishments and such, and then we'll bring him out here. Back in 2015, I was looking to collect some more information about some trumpet players around Iowa, just to connect with different people around the Midwest, and also I had gotten a new phone and I lost half my contacts, so I was trying to get some more people in there. And I was reaching out to some friends to make sure I had everybody and to get some additional contacts. And trumpeter and band director Corey Schmidt told me about this guy Antonio Garza, who I'd not heard of before. And he was up in Cedar Falls, Waterloo area, and apparently had a great lead in jazz, and he was just a great all-around player. Really thirsty to play more, and he's a product of the UNI Jazz program, and that was the perfect endorsement for me. And I knew that I would need to connect with him as soon as I could. And as luck would have it, the next year, I was looking for a sub to play some salsa and jazz stuff, and I had reached out to trumpeter Chris Van Leeuwen, and he was out of town, and he's like, you need to reach out to Antonio Garza. He started speaking to his improvisation skills and fiery playing and his range and great attitude. And so that was two solid endorsements of Antonio, and so I reached out to him and asked him if he could do this gig for me, and he said he could, and so I gave him the music for that, and he did the gig, and by all accounts, he was a complete beast on that gig. And after that, Antonio would drive down numerous times to sub on several bands down in the Des Moines area, and he was starting to develop this reputation for being the go-to guy down here, especially when reaching outside the Des Moines area. And in May of 2017, our Des Moines Big Band had an urgent need for players. We had a couple of people out in May. We were just finishing our season here, and I reached out to Antonio to play with us again, and so he came down and played with us that night, and the section sound was just ridiculous. Playing with Antonio is such a joy. And his lead playing, if you haven't heard him with the Des Moines Big Band, you need to come out and listen to the Des Moines Big Band at some point, because he's a monster. He returned to sub with us several more times in the fall of that year, and I asked, Max was putting together his annual New Year's Eve gig, which I do with him every year, Max Wallman, and I asked Antonio if he'd be able to come down and play with us for that particular event. And he replied in his way. I actually printed out the email here. I had sent him an email, and I said, hey, Mr. Garza, is there any chance you could sub in the Des Moines Big Band on New Year's Eve on Noce? And I gave him the details, and I ended by saying there would be free hugs at the stroke of midnight. And he said, the free hugs are enticing enough. I'm available and interested. I'll put it in my calendar. And well, I told some people about that email and what a great guy he was and how fun he was and about the free hugs. And unfortunately, I'm finding out the word spread that Antonio would play for free hugs. And the joy of many embraces and smiles and back pats notwithstanding, apparently Antonio has not been paid a single cent for about 3 years on any gigs anywhere. And I feel horrible about this. And I'm just joking. But we're going to make this right tonight, Antonio. He's a professional, okay? He's for hire, so just to let you know. Antonio would play some more for the Des Moines Big Band as a sub throughout 2018, as well for several bands in town and throughout Iowa, including performing on Max Wallman's Harry Connick show, where he put on quite the display of some Roger Ingram-style lead playing. And at some point, he moved to West Des Moines, I think that year, and ended up being another example. This ended up being another example of excellent timing. And it was a time where I was also looking to add another permanent player to the trumpet section of the Des Moines Big Band. And in January 2019, we invited Antonio to play with us on a permanent basis. He's been an amazing section mate for us, perfect blend of musicianship, humor, humility, intensity, and positive energy. We've had great conversations about current events, bands, people, and trumpet, of course. And it's on his recommendation that I just traveled down to Kansas City a couple months ago to Austin Custom Brass, look at trumpets, and I got 2 new horns. And the second of which is going to get here this next week, and that's all thanks to him recommending that. Antonio graduated from Dubuque High School as well as the University of Northern Iowa, where he was a member of numerous ensembles, including UNI Jazz 1, with whom he recorded on 4 of their albums, the Jazz Panthers, Northern Iowa Symphony Orchestra, the Wind Symphony, and a variety of combos and trumpet ensembles. He's played with the Temptations, Nashito Herrera and his Cuban Orchestra, Bob Dorr and the Blue Band, and the NOLA Jazz Band, and the Grand Avenue Ruckus. Also the Maytags and Youth Orchestra. And he's currently a member of the Des Moines Big Band, Orquesta Alto Maes, the Tighten Up, and the Java Jews, and the Max Woman Big Band. It's with great pleasure that I get to present this award to Antonio. Antonio, if you come out here and join me here. Yeah, man. Yeah. And I'd like to read this to all of you. So this is the Community Jazz Center presenting Antonio Garza with our Next Generation Award. This award is presented in recognition of outstanding instrumental performance, contributions to the Des Moines jazz community. Presented this 24th day of October in the year 2021. Antonio Garza. Yeah, man.
Thank you. It's truly an honor. You know, maybe not all my life, but for a good majority of my life, I've wanted to play the trumpet. And, you know, coming down here for the past 3 years has been just a complete blast, getting to play with so many of you in this room. And, yeah, thanks so much for this award. Thank you for all the people who have, you know, reached out to me and asked me to play, and yeah, it's been overwhelming. You know, thanks Dave Rezick for the beautiful preamble to this, and I will continue to be playing for free hugs, although, you know, maybe a dollar here or two. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Abe, thank you. I want to thank all of you musicians and all the community in Des Moines. You're all fantastic humans. You know, I want to thank some of the people who have brought me up in this music. I know Chris Mertz is here. Fantastic influence, fantastic Cuban. Can't thank you enough for the education that I got from you. And lastly, I just want to thank my folks who are also here, my parents, my grandparents, my brother. You know, all those years listening to me suffer through the trumpet, you know, it's starting to pay off. So thanks so much. Thank you. I'm gonna play a piece called Brotherhood of Man, the treatment done by Oscar Peterson and Clark Terry.
Anthony Garza. Beautiful. The Next Generation Award, of course, is for the younger people, and before that we had the student musicians. I'm going to tell you another brief story about conversation I had. You know, I often quote that jazz is such a universal language that an 80-year-old can play with a 20-year-old, and they're speaking the same language when they play. And when I did that, I always thought of Julius Brooks. Who knows who Julius Brooks is? Okay. So I talked to Julius Brooks on the phone today, and he just walked in. Okay, so I love what he told me today. I said, Julius, you had a birthday this week, didn't you? And he said, October 18th. And I said, how old are you? And he said, how old do you think I am? And I said, 94. And he said, and boy, I'm glad. He said, you hit the nail on the head. I'm 94 and wanting more. So he just walked in. Happy birthday to Julius Brooks over here. Okay, we have some special recognition awards that we want to give out and present tonight. And these awards, you know, we've given them to club owners. And like Sam and Gabe's over here, Jerry and Julie are sitting over here tonight. We've given them to, you know, a lot of people, and, you know, maybe eventually they get inducted in the Hall of Fame, but they can go to, you know, club owners, music promoters, educators, jazz players, whatever it is, but be virtually anyone who contributes to the jazz scene and does it in a remarkable manner like they do. But I guess we have one more recipient that couldn't be here tonight. And here, before you guys come up, I just remembered he couldn't be here tonight due to a work conflict, and here to talk about him and accept the award on his behalf is trumpeter Scott Davis.
So we're talking about Dan Stevenson, a good friend of mine, saxophone player and clarinet, more associated with the trad jazz or the New Orleans, Dixieland jazz world. And so back in the day, they were in the clubs. They had some things in the 80s and 90s that were going. Now not so much. Real briefly, Dan from Roosevelt High School, Drake University. We were doing a gig. We were doing a second line funeral for an African-American gentleman just a couple of weeks ago, who tragically left us too early. But while we're waiting for that, he told me he had taught briefly in schools, and then he left that world and got a real job, and that was his main. And I think he's away on work right now. And again, I've known Dan through working with some of the trad jazz stuff. One of my memories was we played the last note at the Clear Lake Jazz Festival, which was a Dixieland festival up 2019. We were scheduled to play. This was the Pelicans, and this is the kind of the most recent ensemble that he's put together, and we back up Max Wellman occasionally. Anyway, we were up there playing, and the skies opened up, and it was like, oh, we got to stop playing. And we literally played the last note, stop, it started raining, and then the festival was canceled forever after that. Yeah. But we've had, obviously I've had some great times with him in various and sundry things. He's our the secretary of the Local 75, our musicians union, has done a great job promoting music and helping out people in all sorts of ways. He's a great clarinet player. He played with the Java Jews at various points in time. And so there was, the municipal band. We have a summer, Music Under the Stars program that he's been real instrumental through the union in providing concerts on the steps of the Capitol on Sunday evenings. So I'm honored to accept this for Dan, and I wanted to try to get a hold of him, of course, and we missed each other as to details, but I knew I could wing it to some degree with him. So I'm honored that we include him in this, because it's not right so much in the clubs, but he's definitely out there as like what I wanted to be was a working musician, and that's what we did.
So the CJC presents Daniel Stevenson, our Special Recognition Award, presented in recognition of outstanding instrumental performance and contributing to the Des Moines jazz community. I'll give it to you.
I'll get it to Dan one of these. You know what, I was thinking, John, maybe next year we can have him play at some point, kind of a thing. Yeah. So once again, for Dan, thank you. Dan, where are you, for God's sake?
Presenting our next Special Recognition Award is someone that most people know, saxophonist, educator, someone I'm proud to call my friend, and the 2019 Hall of Fame inductee himself, Mr. Wayne Page.
Isn't it awesome being here? What a great music family here in Des Moines, and that Noce and Max opened the house for the people, right? What a beautiful thing. I've had the privilege and been blessed to play with Ron and Betsy on several occasions. There was a stint that Ron and I did with John Kazulimet and Steve Charleston at Vern's and Clive on Monday nights. And a lot of you are very familiar with his great guitar playing, but he actually writes a lot of tunes too that I know maybe a lot of you haven't had a chance to play, and those were some good times. We were talking today about maybe on one of the Jazz on the Houses here, pulling that back together and playing some of his originals. But, you know, we're supposed to talk about people's musicianship when you're up here, and I can't help but just keep thinking about how beautiful the people are and all the wonderful experiences with the people as humans. But I think that's why they play such great music. Both Betsy and Ron are so sensitive with their music and giving, and that shows when you play. It's completely selfless and really fun to play with both of you. And anybody that's played with them is well aware of that after the first tune. But we've gotten to know each other pretty well playing gigs and whatnot, and got to know Betsy in a particularly unique way when she basically got right in the middle of me proposing to my Betsy right over there one night. But that was something else that ties us together in a unique way. But anybody that's heard them play, or the other thing is too, as part of the fabric of our musician scene, is it's fairly common to see them in the audience. And that's a huge part of this whole thing too, because not everyone has the time or takes the time to go listen to the other musicians in town. And it's always a blessing when we're playing up here and you guys are there listening, you know, because we know we have knowing ears listening and hopefully enjoying. But anyway, we're going to get to hear you guys play, and I look forward to that. So
Abe and I discussed whether we were going to do one plaque or two, but they each get their own plaque. Yeah, I'll let you.
see if I can read this small print. Ron Roberts, our Special Recognition Award. This award is presented in recognition of outstanding musical performance and contributions to the Central Iowa jazz community, presented this 24th day of October in the year 2021.
One more time. Okay, you got it.
I got it. Betsy Hickok, our Special Recognition Award. This award is presented in recognition of outstanding musical performance and contributions to the Central Iowa jazz community. Presented this 24th day of October in the year 2021. Congratulations.
Wow, that is just lovely. Thank you so much. Can I take this?
Even better.
Yes, okay. Thank you so much for that great introduction, Wayne. So I'm going to just say a really quick word because there are some of you I don't know, and just want to say a few things. First and foremost, I really want to thank the many musicians and promoters who work so hard to give jazz such a vibrant home here in Des Moines, and not just the musicians and the promoters, but the audience members who come out time and again and give us so much love. So I just heartfelt thank you to all of you. With this, it's such an honor to be included in an evening recognizing a couple of our very favorite musicians, Jason and Paul. I mean, you all know they're awesome people and awesome musicians. And I certainly don't feel that I in any way belong in the Hall of Fame with them, but I'm thinking like, the lobby of fame or, the front steps of fame. I'll take it. Just to be in their proximity really means a lot. So maybe just crawling up the front steps of fame. Anyway, so relative to Ron, we got married about 11 years ago, and relative to Ron, so I've been in the Des Moines scene a somewhat short time because I moved here from eastern Iowa 10 years ago. But I really appreciate how we've been accepted in Des Moines as a duo and have had so many opportunities to play with such great musicians like Wayne and many others. And, with Jazz in July and gigs like that. And it's just really happening here in Des Moines. And it's one of the great reasons to live in Iowa, seriously. Ron doesn't know I'm going to say this, but I really want to especially direct this moment to him because he's played in this area for about 30 years with many of the folks here tonight. And Ron modestly refers to himself as a hobbyist musician. But he has a pretty demanding day job. He's actually a research scientist in aerospace engineering, so it really is rocket science with Ron. And but I'm in a position to really witness how hard he continues to work on his music. He's just so devoted to it, and I've learned so much working with him, and just been really inspired by him as a musician. So tonight, I just really want to direct this moment to him tonight. Yay! So anyway, thanks to all of you again for this honor. I also want to thank our kids, Carissa and Matt, for coming all the way down in a rainstorm to be here with us tonight and support us. We really appreciate that. They live up in Ames, so it was a big drive. So here's to playing more. Here's to playing more in the coming years, and to hearing more of all of you in the coming years.
Well, I was talking to John just before the show about the agenda. Want a 5 minutes, 10-minute, whatever, and John said, "Well, okay. Well, Betsy's going to do all the talking, right?" Well, actually, that was my plan. but after he said that, it's like, better form. I should say something. So I'll give a couple thank yous. And 3 people here tonight came to mind as I was standing here, and 3 people I want to thank. When I first came here in 1989, believe this, the very first musician I ran into, I should preface that, I came here from Chicago in 1989, so a little apprehensive about leaving that scene and what was I going to find in the middle of Iowa. Very first person I ran into, jazz musician, was Steve Charlson, checking out the basses up at ISU, and I said, oh man, this is going to be all right. So that was the first great find. About 5 years later or so, I And then made the acquaintance, as Wayne was just mentioning, with Wayne Page, who's been my companion and co-partner in several projects. And as he mentioned, we're going to continue to do that. So thank you to Wayne. A third person that came to mind was about year 2006. I think that was the very first holiday show that Max did over at the Village Muse. Is that the name of the place? I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. What's that? Vaudeville Muse. Thank you. Memory. And yeah, that was Max Wellman then, and that was has been a very fun relationship for the years, and I think that's everyone, right? Not just kidding. Then, as Betsy said, about 11, 12 years ago, I just met this talented, gorgeous, and most of all, most loving and spiritual person on the face of the planet that I'm so fortunate to get to play with, including tonight. So certainly I thank you. And lastly, everyone that comes out to hear us. And as Betsy mentioned, everyone that promotes jazz, this club, all the things are happening in Des Moines. But most of all, everyone that comes out and listens. You're such an important part of what goes on here in making the jazz scene happen. So especially thank you to you. Okay, let's play a tune.
We thought a song about music would be appropriate for the evening. This is from Our Hearts to Yours. I think so. If you hear a song in blue, like a flower crying for the dew, that was my heart serenading you, my prelude to a kiss. If you hear a song that grows from my tender sentimental woes, that was my heart trying to compose my prelude to a kiss. Though it's just a simple melody, it's nothing fancy, nothing much. You can turn it to a symphony, a Schubert tune with a Gershwin touch, and how my love song gently cries for the tenderness within your eyes. My love is a prelude that never dies. It's just a simple melody. It's nothing fancy, nothing much. You can turn it to a symphony, a Schubert tune with a Gershwin touch, and hum my love song gently cries for the tenderness within your eyes. My love is a prelude that never dies. Prelude to a kiss. So much. Thank you.
Thank you. Betsy Hickok and Ron Roberts. I'll just throw in my 2 cents worth about them. That you know, I've been around the jazz scene in Des Moines for a long time, and going back to the Ernie's Urban Lounge days, if anybody remembers that. And I had heard the name Ron Roberts, and I'd seen him maybe play with a few people, and our paths really didn't cross. And then a few years, I mean, this wasn't that long ago, I saw Jazz in July. I saw, you know, that they were playing with Steve Charleston and Wayne Page, and I didn't see them play, but I kind of followed them after that. And as some of you may know, there's another place that books duos, and they've been the perfect match for that, to play there every couple of months. And I really enjoy what they play. Is just really tasty, honest music. So anyway, and now we're moving on. As part of the wonderful history of this Hall of Fame that started in 2001, I used to list all the inductees, but you know, there's so many of them, and unfortunately many of them aren't with us any longer, but many of them are here tonight. And it's kind of dark in here maybe, but I want to recognize the ones that are here a little bit. If they could just stand up for a minute. All of the CJC Hall of Fame inductees. I know we've got Wayne Page, Scott Smith, Gabrielle Espinoza, Susie Maget, Tina Haas, Findlay. And I apologize, it's dark here, but I know there's more of you. Of course, Julius Brooks, Steve Charleston, Jim Eckloff. Who am I forgetting that's here? But because I can't see, but of course, Phyllis Leverton, who was the president of the Community Jazz Center upon her retirement, very well deserving, because Phyllis and I, we started this Jazz Hall of Fame, and she went to all the events, all the Hall of Fame events, all the jam sessions for years, 25 plus years, I know, and worked with schools and worked with honor bands and all that stuff. So if there's anybody else here, I truly apologize, but there's so many important people that are here. Tonight we are paying tribute to the hours of hard work and practice that's gone into some great accomplishments. We celebrate and reward these artists and applaud them for their accomplishments. And now for this year's Hall of Fame inductees, I'm going to turn the stage over to Mr. Abe Goldstein for a little bit. We used to do a video interviews of everybody, but we're going to do some live interviews.
As you can see, this is well rehearsed. It's like another Java Jew gig. All right, the first person we're going to honor is Jason Danielson. And to do that, we asked a couple people that have known Jason, some for quite a long time, some for a time. So you know who you are. Come on up. So it's, I believe, Fred Gazzo. Have a seat. Scott Davis. Brian Schumacher. And, where's Tanner? I thought Tanner was going to do this.
Yeah, let me go find him.
Okay.
This, you can hand that down.
Here, you can hand that one to you talk. Hey, and before I forget, no, it's not about the Cast Terrace December 5th event, because that's in your program, so I don't need to mention it. There are posters of all the Jazz Hall of Fame people, and there are posters for tonight's event at the desk as you leave. Feel free to grab one. There's a tip jar there. We appreciate any contributions you can make. Those of you who are being honored, there's some larger copies on cardstock behind the counter. Feel free to take what you want, or if you need more, just holler. All right, with that said, so we were asked to put a panel of people together. I have to call you people, I can think. Talk about Jason Danielson. So the first question is, and you'll definitely have to pass the mic around. As a matter of fact, don't let Hassel hold on to it. All right. Well, yeah. So first of all, I'm wondering which of you goes back the farthest with Jason Danielson. Which of you can think you go back the farthest here?
That might do it, actually. Should I go? Yeah, actually, I remember Jason Danielson was playing baritone saxophone in our summer band in whatever it was. He was 7th grade. Yeah, so whatever that was. I think I win on that one.
All right. So were you teaching?
Yeah, we were doing the summer band program in Des Moines schools, and he was playing Barry at that point in time. A little bit later, this is a good story. His mom comes up to me in high school, and she says, Jason's thinking about becoming a jazz musician. What do you think? And I'm like, of course, I'm being logical and very, polite. Sure, Kathy. What do you? And in the meantime, I go, are you serious? But he kind of made it work.
And Brian, you told me a story about the first time you heard him with, I think it was a big band.
Yeah, so I had moved back from being in Kansas City for about 7 years, and was asked to sub in the big band occasionally, and we were at the Spaghetti Works still back in those days, and it was either 2001 or 2002, and Jason does not remember this, so he thinks this is all made up. But it's not. I was playing second tenor, and Jim Oates called the tune Until I Met You, or Corner Pocket. And for those of you who know that tune, it's got an 8-bar introduction that's just all piano. And this guy botched the heck out of it. We had to stop the band and start over. And this part of the story might be made up, but I think we skipped the intro and just counted it off after the 8-bar intro and started the tune there. And I remember turning around, like, I gotta figure out who this guy is, so I never call him for a gig. And so that was not the first time I met Jason. I can't remember the first time I met Jason, and I think this might hold true for a lot of musicians, is you always remember the first time you get to play with a musician. And the first time I got to play with Jason he asked me if I'd want to do a little duo gig with him at a house party. And I don't know why you ever asked me to do that, Jason, but it was But I was delighted because at that point I had heard Jason many times and just never had a chance to play with him, and respected the heck out of him as a musician. And I said, well, what's the gig? And he says, well, it's a little house party. A friend of mine named Dale Morris, who is here tonight, Dale. And I just play his upright piano, and we just play whatever we want, and they love it. So that's what we did. And I remember it was like love at first note. I had been waiting patiently trying to find a pianist who I really gelled with a lot, and it's been Jason. So that's not to discredit any of the other pianists in the room. I love you all. We just played a couple weeks ago, even so, and John and so forth. But I just really love playing with Jason, and that's my story
Great.
about
So-
the first
so
time.
Tanner, I'll get to you in a second because you've hired Jason. You've sought him out, right, Brian, to play with you.
Yes.
And Scott, I know you hired him, and I'm even to play on your records.
He's on, Tanner's on one and Jason's on the other.
Well, and I'm on one too, right? The good one. But Fred, you didn't hire him. He was kind of thrown at you, as I remember.
Yes, reluctantly, he was thrown at me. I remember, Jason came to my house, and good Lord, I have to say it, but he was just a straight bangs in the front, and there he walks into my chandelier house and velvet curtains and all this. It was like Liberace's asshole all of a sudden, and poor Jason. And I'm sorry, but I know it was a lot for him because I remember him looking at me like, oh, where did you come from? And it just, I think the first gig that he played was the deal at Tumia's. And then, he'll tell you, it jived, and it was crazy fun. And then we had a wonderful, run through the years at Sam and Gabe's. And for about 9 years. It was just a dream. And so here, I'm going to make this really short, and because I do have a tendency to just, psychotically ramble, and I'm not going to do that. So when Abe got a hold of me and said, da-da-da, I had 19 different thoughts going many different ways, and I thought, what, I'm just going to let this be organic, try not to get emotional, but I will say this. For whoever I am at this point in my musical career, I owe it all to him because I'm not musically trained whatsoever, and Jason put everything together for me. Every show that we did, he put the set list together. I'd listen to tunes in my car. I'd be driving on the highway, I'd listen to Sinatra, and I'd hear some tune, and I'd text him and I'd say, hey, I just heard this great tune, and he would chart it out, bring it to Sam's or to a wedding or to what have you. I wouldn't understand how the thing went together, but he would do it for me. And so truly, if you removed that facet from my life, I would not have had the last 12 years of this great, being able to be a vocalist, because no one's going to come to the food court at Valley West Mall to hear me sing a cappella, for God's sakes. So that's what it is. Jason, I've always said he's the Rogers to my heart. So
go ahead.
yeah,
say
that was
again.
almost as good as Love is First Note. But anyway, I truly do owe him my musical success.
All right.
To
if-
Jason Danielson.
So if we don't believe what a trumpet player, a saxophone player, and a vocalist has to say about Jason, we surely should believe what a fellow piano player has to say about him.
Well, where would you like me to start, Abe? Anywhere specifically? Jason and I, we go back quite a ways. Not, I don't remember him ever playing baritone sax, thankfully. But I remember him being around, and I think he first came to my attention back when we were both in high school, mid-'90s, early mid-'90s. And Chuck Offenberger, who was the Iowa boy, lives in Cooper, and I grew up in Jefferson. So, but he has to sing for jazz and loves jazz musicians and baseball players as well. But he came to my attention there, and of course I saw my jazz championships. But I really got to know him Back in like 1997, we were both attending the Clark Terry Jazz Camp, which was held in Lamars, Iowa, at a small community college. Really, it was a trip because Clark Terry would bring in pretty much the old original Tonight Show big band to work with all the students. So you had this just slamming big band in this little community college every summer. But Jason and I were in a couple of the top combos together during those years. And then when I auditioned for college, I heard that this guy was moving back and coming to UNI. So we both attended UNI at the same time as well, and we really got to know each other there as well. And really what I love about the guy musically, I'm a sucker for melody, and he's such a melodic player. And that's something that you don't find all the time. And I remember back at UNI, this 99, 2000 or so, and we had a guest, Paul McKeon, trombonist, and I was sitting with the other jazz band kids, and Jason was playing with the pros up front, and I remember Paul McKee looking over to Bob Washington, just mouthing the words, "Damn, he's good." And he was about 19, 20 years old, so he's been a good friend as well. I've sought advice from him on a number of occasions, and he's a guy to look up to for me. And we always trade back gigs. If I ever need a sub, it's Jason Danielson. So thank you, Jason. And this is a wonderful thing to happen to you, and damn, you deserve it, man. So congratulations.
All right. Hand the mic over to Brian for a second. Hand it back to Brian. All right, here's what we're going to try. We're going to let you guys improvise now. Okay? What's that? You start a toast for Jason on receiving this award. You start it. Tanner takes it from you. Scott takes it from you. Fred takes it and can end it.
I didn't hear the first part.
You're going to do a toast to Jason, but don't finish it.
Don't finish it?
So it's going to be continued down the line. Fred will have the end.
Okay. I don't have a lot of experience in this area, but
An improviser?
I did I did want to talk about Jason the person. Jason is such a humble guy. There's few human beings that you run across in your life where you can't find a person on the planet who's ever said anything poorly about insert the person's name, and in this case, it's Jason Danielson. Maybe his mom's over there like, I can't. I've spanked him dozens of times. And now I'm forgetting what I wanted to say, and I hate that. I've got it on my phone, Jason, I promise. I made notes, but he's always looking out for other folks. On the bandstand, he's always looking for opportunities to raise the soloist up and support them. Whenever I'm playing with Jason, I know I'm safe. I'm safe to take chances. I'm safe to screw up because he will right the situation very quickly and make you feel like you're just at home. And that's who he is when he walks around away from the piano as well. Jason's always on call for me, and I know that. If I need to, he's always waiting in the wings in case somebody needs him to give him his shirt. And I think it's important that that Sarah knows that and that his boys know that, the impact that Jason has on so many people when he's not around you guys. Another example is I remember going to Ames and playing a gig with him and John Zillermute, and it was going to be Jason and Sam Salamone, and they had asked me to play, and I showed up, and Jason said, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make this gig work. And I said, why? And he says, because today is Carter's birthday. So I had to ask Carter for permission to do a gig on his birthday. And if Carter would have said no, this gig wouldn't have happened, because that's Jason's pecking order. Priority first, his family. And and I know he can't be the type of person who's always waiting with his arms open for people if it wasn't for Sarah. She's such a supportive spouse, and so I just want to give a shout out to Sarah as well. Thank you for letting me date your husband every once in a while. Yeah, I had one other thought, but it just escaped me. I think that's enough for now.
All right, Tanner, you start the toast. That's okay.
Okay, to the pianist whose music we enjoy listening to the father who camps in the snow.
I was going to piggyback on that, of course. Yeah, the toasting part I can do, but Jason doesn't anymore. But I want to salute him for. Hard to believe I was a Boy Scout, and and his experiences with his sons in camping and scouting has been incredible. And it's fun to talk to him about that and how he embraced that so much. So yeah, here's to your camping.
All right, you get the end, Fred.
All righty. Well, Jason, may you continue to make such beautiful music for many years to come. And may we be of good fortune to be a part of it and to enjoy it. God bless you, and you are just as good of a musician as you are. You're a much better person. And you really are, and it's just you have warmed my heart through the years. God bless you, and thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Seriously, any of these guys could have presented this award to Jason, and there were others that wanted to speak about Jason, but, we have to limit it somehow. But that is a small panel of his peers that really care about him. But to present the Hall of Fame award to Jason, I'm pleased to have a true master, someone that we don't see enough of. And we remember this person from a long time ago. And she's still around, but we'd like to hear a lot more of her and see a lot more of her. I know, there's this other place that books jazz duos, and the first jazz duo I booked there 6 years ago was this person with Janie Hooper. So I can't say enough about the talents of the next presenter, multi-instrumentalist, educator, vocalist, scat singer extraordinaire, CJC Hall of Fame inductee. Welcome to the stage, Susie Maget.
Well, hello. I actually may have Scott beat on how long I've known Jason. Jason came to me as a much shorter person, as a student years ago. And, of course, he's developed into quite a phenomenal player. And everything that a teacher might hope. And, of course, he went out to the East Coast, did his thing out there for a while, and could have easily stayed there. He's world-class jazz pianist. And he decided to come back and stay with us, as many of us have. We have a very rich jazz scene here in Des Moines. Most New Yorkers are like, Iowa? You grow potatoes there, right? They don't really recognize what's happening in the Midwest. And Jason is a really great example of the high level of jazz that's happening right here in Des Moines in our own city. And very quickly, I just want to say, we've become great friends, and we've played many gigs together over the years. And many people have said the great things about Jason's playing. Great technique, great knowledge of theory and chord changes and cool scales and all the cool bebop licks and all the stuff you need to know to be a great jazz musician. But music And jazz particularly becomes something more when you get players who are at a high level. The music becomes something that is more than the sum of the players. And every time I play with Jason, that's what happens. He listens, listens, listens. You cannot be a great musician without listening to the other players. And he's a great accompanist from having been the vocal accompanist at Hoover High School way back in the day for the jazz choir, and his sister, who is a singer, who was also a student of mine. And he's just a wonderful, wonderful part of the musical creation, our artwork that is made of sound, and something much more than just each individual player. And the very most important thing is he likes to have fun. He likes to have fun when we play. Many jazz players are like, all serious, you know. Come on, man, let's play that hard swing groove and play our bebop. Jason always likes to have fun. And I love that, I think, more than anything about him, the happiness that he brings to the gig. Very important. And he totally deserves this. We're lucky to have him here in Des Moines. Jason Danielson. Community Jazz Center proudly inducts Jason Danielson into the Jazz Hall of Fame. Hall of Flame? Okay, we're burning, man. Hall of Fame. This award is presented in recognition of significant contributions to the jazz community in the greater Des Moines metropolitan area, and I would say the state of Iowa as well. You have truly inspired the past, present, and future generations. Presented this 24th day of October in the year 2021.
It doesn't matter. I was raised by theater and speech people, so I have my little thing here. Thank you so much. Abe, John, everyone at the Community Jazz Center, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. This is really like one of the greatest honors of my life. And it's even more special because the CJC has been there for me from the very beginning. Some of my fondest and most powerful memories of my childhood were jam sessions and big band shows at Java Joe's, thoughtful guidance from professional musicians like Susie and like Stu, and of course Phyllis Leverton's beautiful smile and her just nonstop enthusiasm. Just every time a kid walked in there, she just made you feel welcome. So whatever I may be able to contribute to this music scene, the CJC helped to build that, and I'm grateful. There are so many people who I admire and am grateful for. My parents, Ron and Kathy, recognized my passion for music and made enormous investments to support me emotionally, financially. My amazing kids, Carter, Max, and Isaac, who are here, they challenge me and they inspire me every day. I love them more than I ever knew I could love. I'm touched that my brother Greg and my sister Anna came from Minneapolis and Chicago, respectively. I have the best siblings, and they have just the most wonderful kids. I love being an uncle to their kids. I've had teachers who offered me more than I could ever repay, not just as musicians, but as humans. I'm especially thankful to people like Jamie Paulson, Pat Carney, Linda Vanderpool, Bob Washit, Chris Mertz, and no offense to any others who are wonderful, but above all, Susie Maget. I mean, the hours I spent agonizing over, whatever counterpoint assignment she had me trying to write as a senior in high school. And, she was just brilliant. And to this day, a gig with Susie, a conversation with Bob Washit, it still makes me feel like an eager student, and I have still have stuff to learn, and I love that. Rhythm section players live in kind of a weird, sometimes lonely world. The horn players all kind of get to they run into each other a lot. There are, you know, big bands and orchestra pits and stuff, and, you know, pianist, guitarist, bassist, it's kind of like, this is, you know, it's just, we're just the one there, you know, but I feel that I'm very, very lucky when I get to cross paths with other pianists, and I'll tell you, you know, I've lived in Des Moines for, you know, over 40 years now, and I've played here for decades, and there's never been so many great piano players in this town as there are right now. Just wonderful ones all around. John and Nick and Nate and Bruce and Jamie and Peter, and it goes on and on. But you know, I'm thrilled that the panel included one of my oldest friends and one of I mean, I always say he's my favorite piano player, Tanner Taylor. He's back there somewhere. I love you, man. A lot of great times together. Some stories we, you know, won't ever tell anyone else, but God, that guy's great. Wasn't he great? He's just, every time I hear him, he makes me happy. If you know me, you know that I love to accompany. I love it in chamber music, combos, big bands, theater stages, behind singers, whatever. Accompaniment is where I'm really, really happy. And I've been lucky enough to collaborate with so many great people. I don't want to start naming them because I'll leave people out, and I don't want to do that. But I'm so grateful for everyone that I play. Okay, I'm gonna mention one because you know, I couldn't be happier to share this night with Paul Bridson tonight, and we're gonna hear about how fantastic he is. But you know, I remember as a teenager, on Monday nights, we would have jazz band rehearsal, and then we'd quickly like throw our stuff together and hop in somebody's car and drive down to Spaghetti Works. And Paul was playing lead trombone then, you know, and I mean, and the band was great, and he was, I've admired him ever since. And to be able to be, you know, to call him a friend now, and, you know, a colleague, and even a neighbor, kind of, it's a real joy, Paul, and you deserve every bit of this tonight. So, I'm not just lucky. I'm also privileged. I am a middle-class, white, straight, cis male who's worked really hard at this music, but I've also had life circumstances that have let me do that work. This music is Black American music, and it's born through the experience and the intellect and the culture of a people who've never been treated fairly or equally in this country. And it's important to me that we acknowledge that truth and that we honor the creators of this art form by devoting our time and our energy and our resources to the causes of racial justice. Jazz has played an important role in the fight for civil rights and voting rights, and this Black American music has the potential to continue the fight against police brutality, mass incarceration, unequal opportunities in housing and education and employment. And I hope we can all find ways to support those endeavors. Finally, I have to thank the most important person in my life and my favorite human. I met Sarah, my best friend, when we were studying music at the University of Northern Iowa, farther back than I care to admit these days. But we've been through a lot together, and I owe her everything. Her quiet example of love, patience, tolerance, and empathy are deeply inspiring to me. And to know me is to know that I just wouldn't make it without her. So I love you, beautiful. Thank you all. Thank you all for this incredible honor. And thank you to the CJC. Please continue to support the CJC. And I'm going to play a tune now with Stephen Zane.
Jason Danielson. Woo! Once again, we're going to have a panel of peers up here, so let's bring Abe Goldstein back up here.
All right, so who's going to talk about Paul Bridson? I can't remember who we talked to. Tom was one. Aberdeen was one. Wayne. Okay. I'm in trouble now.
Tom Rankin.
Oh, Jim was one. That's it.
Jim, Tom Rankin.
Oh,
Sorry to kick you.
all right, you guys all set? All right, so there's a poster of all 56 people that have been inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I see lots of sax players because they're a dime a dozen, right? I see lots of.
We're on. Okay. I'd like a number of things I'd like to speak to about Paul during the course of this, but my main connection with Paul is through the Des Moines Big Band. And the Big Band has now been running for 60 plus years, and I was fortunate to be a common thread through that. When the Big Band was formed, it originally formed, there was a bunch of people who had come back from World War II and were working on their master's degrees in composition and such at Drake. And that's when the band was formed. And Toad, Steve, being the preeminent trombone player in the Midwest, really, was an integral part of establishing what that band was going to be. The traditions of big band, the Woody Hermans, the Kentons, the Basie, all of that. And he was a consummate performer and practitioner of being able to emulate the style necessary to create that music. Well, Toad was a very, very unique individual. I'm proud to say he was probably the best friend I ever had in the world. And he was so instrumental in creating that band and kept it moving in the right direction all the time that he was tenure there and as the lead player. Well, subsequent to that, I'm not sure Paul realizes just how important his connection with Toad and his ability to absorb what that man was putting out, take it, own it, and continue it to this day in the big band. It's been a remarkable thread throughout the band, and that critical lead trombone chair, and he executes it night after night after night with that great integrity. There's just a quick note for those of you who come to hear the big band, and I hope you all do every Wednesday night right here, that there's a tune that we used to play back in the day. It's called Cousins. And when we played that tune back in the day when Toad was creating this aura of the band, he, with a sense of humor, had little tunes that he would sing about Southern fried chicken and soul food in the opening bars of that tune. If you come to hear the big band and we play that tune, you will find Tom and the lead trombone player and I still sing those songs on the first 8 bars of that tune as a tribute to Toad.
That's really distracting.
I didn't say how good it was. We just do it.
Don't even sing at the time.
We won't go into that. But he's just been a great addition in my life, and I'll talk more about that maybe in the coming months.
So Wayne or Tom or even Dave, was your first contact with Paul with the big band?
Yes, it was. So I've probably known Paul almost probably 30 years. So I joined the big band. I subbed 2 nights for Mike Short on bass trombone, and then I played the second book. The third time I sat in, and Toad said, okay, it's your chair. And about 4 months later, then Paul comes along, and he's started playing the third book with Toad, and we both learned so much from being with Toad. And I don't remember when Toad left, but Paul then jumped in and just took that chair, and every night he's ready to play, and I've learned a lot just playing with Paul over the years. So.
And Wayne, was that your first introduction to Paul? Was it big band as well?
Yeah, it was either big band or with some of Jerry Tolson's conglomerations at the time. But yeah, Paul is one of the most funny, intellectually astute. He and I relate on several very strange levels. I can do the Mork and Mindy thing back here, and we'll nano. There's all kinds of weird things that come up. But the other thing you're talking about is lead playing, but that's a heavy enough chore. But Paul usually does most of the trombone soloing. Tom's playing a lot more now. Wouldn't sound great, by the way, but yeah, Paul does. Between playing the lead and playing the solo work, I don't know how he does it, but he does a great job with all that.
All right, and I know, David, your association goes back farther back than playing in the big band with.
Well, that is true.
All right.
I first was he didn't know who I was, but I knew who he was because he graduated the same year as my brother from Valley High School. And I remember seeing him in, I'm going to say 1978, playing, and I was just like, whoa. And, you know, if you could look at a picture of Paul back when he graduated from high school, he almost looks kind of the same. He really does. But
Is that good or bad?
that's a good thing.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, absolutely. But Paul, being a trombone player and a brass player, it's a brass player, first of all, it's a special thing. Maybe everybody doesn't realize it. I know you do. But being a brass player is very, very, very different than playing the piano or the sax or the guitar. I mean, a piano player can go, bup, 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 and you're good. A brass player, they have to earn the ability to play their instrument every single day. There is no brass player that I know in my life that doesn't have to practice every single day. And I know Paul does that in order to be able to deliver the goods like he does as a soloist and as a lead trombone player in the Des Moines Big Band. I mean, it's absolutely one of those things that unless you've done it, you just don't know, because it's super, super difficult. But he's an amazing trombone player, super great chops, super melodic soloist. I remember playing with him many times in so many different instances, and he's just absolutely a pro every time. And I'm just so grateful to have had an opportunity to be with him and play with him.
All right, so Tom, give us a trombone player's perspective on Paul.
Sure. So, you know, I thought of a story tonight when we talked earlier.
All right, well, you can.
We played a job up in Sioux City, and it's probably the last time I ever heard Paul really screw up. You remember the name of the tune, don't you, Paul? Wasn't it like Indian Love Call or something? Yeah, okay, it was. I still remember it, and you know he didn't do so well at that, and that was the last time I really ever heard him screw up like that. The next night, we probably played in big band. He nailed it, right? So he's the hardest working trombone player in town for sure. I mean, if he doesn't have the changes down and missed two measures out of a huge solo, he goes home and works at it, and the next time comes back, he's got those changes down. So he really works hard at his craft, and I've learned a lot just watching and listening to him over the years. So thank you, Paul, for your leadership.
So is there a drummer's perspective on a trombone player?
What would they know?
What would they know?
Paul reacts as a horn player. There have been so many gigs that we've been on over the years. I honestly was trying to nail down how long I've been playing with Paul. It's at least 30 years in many settings over the years, and he reacts to what I play. I assume he does that with other drummers as well. But I do know that every once in a while, when we're doing a tune or he's taking a solo, and I'll throw something at him, and I'll hear it come back to me in some form. He's just using his ears all the time, and he's so inventive, and he sets such a high standard for himself. And as all the players in the room know, you start playing music for 20 plus years, you find yourself in some very, very unique situations with some very unique people. I mean, you want an interesting group of people, bring a band into your house. I mean, the characters that you run into and that are thrown together, and then sometimes the settings are just unreal. And sometimes it might be a mother of the bride that's a problem. But Paul always has this standard that you feel that's coming at you, that he's going to do the best he can, and he's going to let you do the best you can, even when the situation is less than optimum. And sometimes you You just need somebody to give you that extra kick when you just kind of like to phone it in, but you can't. Paul won't let you do it.
So, Wayne, have there been any strange gigs you've played with Paul?
Most of them, probably.
Is that a statement on me or him? I just remember we were playing a Fred Gazzo gig at Wakanda.
Well, any gig with Fred would be.
Well, I'm not going down that road.
Okay.
But seemed like we had some charts we had some tunes that night that had no charts, and it was just like we were supposed to make up some backgrounds while he was singing and stuff. And I swear there must have been 12 notes in a row. We're trying to play footballs and long stuff and make some harmonies, and every note I picked, he picked, vice versa. And I just gave up and stopped playing because we were all hearing the same note. And it's like, okay, forget it. But I do have to say, when I first started on the big band, Paul's playing on the blues really shaped how I started playing over the chord changes on the blues at that point. And so he has more influence over other players than he has any idea. I do have to tell one. You were part of some of these too. You know, the gigs were always fun, but it seemed like getting to and from were always an adventure. Paul was working at Riemann Music, and we were supposed to play at the Marshalltown Country Club. And I had a Jeep Wrangler, and it was snowing like crazy. I said, well, why don't we take my Jeep, and that way if we slide in the ditch, I can get us right out. And I think I had just copied that terrible copy I did of Sail Away that's in the folder. And Jim Oates had given me this case of Coors or whatever that was in the back of my Jeep. None of them are open. But so here we are, we're going down, what is that, 330 or whatever that angle road is going to Marshalltown. Black ice, and we start spinning. And all I said was, I'm trying. And I'm like, we're going to roll this thing. And I got a shot to go straight in the ditch, and as soon as I got the right angle, I floored it. We went in the ditch. Paul called Kelly. We had a highway patrolman took us back to Bouselman's. Kelly took us to Ankeny. We got the other car. I think we were, 2 hours late to the gig. Even with what happened, Jim was pissed at us for not being on time. Kind of like, yeah, anyway. And then your car stalled, and we pushed it down the interstate. Anyway, so we've had a lot of that. But
as a musician, you don't necessarily have a really awesome car necessarily. Yeah, sometimes your cars don't work that well because you don't make that much money. So you're driving on cars that could use a tune-up.
All right. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, Paul is a working man's musician. He is absolutely one of those people that, like, when you hear him play on any standard tune, he's like, knows how to play right inside the changes. He knows, I don't know if he hears it or how he studied it, but his melodicism is amazing. And I always call him PJ Fontanzolino, which is a combination of Paul Bridson, Paul McKee, J.J. Johnson, Carl Fontana, and Frank Rosolino. These are all great trombone players. I'm trying to work out more different words I can have to say, but he's an absolutely wonderful musician in the way he is so melodic every single time. He never plays what we might call, a little BS. You know what I'm talking about, Saxes? Like,
oh, don't get me started.
Simply because he's got that melodic sense about him. And I remember one of my favorite gigs that I used to do with Paul all the time, which doesn't sound that fun, but he was like, I don't know if he was in charge of the Democratic Party up in Ankeny, but we would play on the back of a hay wagon, and we'd play Dixieland music through this whole parade in the sun and super hot, and we'd just be jamming on this Dixieland music with like a one drum and a ukulele and a banjo and me and him, and it was still a blast. So,
all right.
Thank you, Paul.
So let's try the same thing we tried with Jason. We'll start with Tom this time. We'll see if trombone players do better than sax players. So start a toast for Paul. You start it. Jim will
I
take
came
it.
prepared.
Jim will take it from there. Wayne, and then Dave can finish it off.
So here's to Paul, one of the hardest working trombone players in Des Moines, in the Midwest. I appreciate all your leadership in the trombone section of the big band throughout the years. Love you, brother.
And a toast to the promotions that you have encountered and accomplished through the Turner Band, Des Moines Big Band, and your political life actually kind of woke me up a few years ago to what I might be able to contribute there. So here's to you on that note.
Here's to Paul's sweetness and beautiful soul and eminent intelligence.
Here's to Paul, a person that you can tell he loves to play. He just, even if it's not the most awesome gig in the world, he just loves to play. So here, here.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job, guys. Here to present the award is someone that means a lot to our next inductee. I'd like to welcome the Executive Director of the Des Moines Symphony and Academy, Mr. Richard Early, to the stage to present the award.
That was set for Susie Maget. Well, good evening. As always, what a great night for jazz in Des Moines, the city that fights above its weight on so many fronts, including being the home of an amazing roster of historically important and current terrific and accomplished jazz musicians. And Des Moines is also the home of several outstanding and unique jazz venues, including our host tonight, Noce. You know, I came here directly from the Civic Center where the symphony had a concert this afternoon. We played George Walker, Beethoven, and Tchaikovsky. Let me tell you, if they were here tonight, they would not want to follow the music we've heard right here. All of us in the musical community gathered here especially want to recognize and thank the Greater Des Moines Community Jazz Center for their ongoing commitment to the annual Jazz Hall of Fame Awards. What a legacy they have established. I feel privileged and especially pleased to have been invited to speak about one of tonight's two Hall of Fame inductees, my good friend and fellow trombone conspirator, Paul Bridson. I first met Paul not long after moving to Des Moines 12 years ago to work for the symphony. Somehow I had the good fortune to be asked to sub in the Des Moines Big Band out at Adventureland. What I learned quickly about Paul Bridson from that very first time playing together was that he could do things on the trombone that this symphonically trained trombonist only dreamed about. Sitting next to Paul was amazing. He played with seemingly unending power on the lead part and with phenomenal accuracy and a facile technique. I also learned that Paul had never met a high B flat, C, D, E flat, or double high F that he didn't like. And at the first break, I learned that Paul Bridson is a wonderfully warm, caring, and humble human being. How fortunate I was to meet Paul and make music with him. And now we have been section mates in the Turner Center Jazz Orchestra for 11 seasons. By the way, you should know Paul is a TCJO co-founder, along with his amazing life partner, collaborator, and wife, Kelly Sargent. They are the reason for all their supporting work behind the scenes, work necessary for a performing arts organization to survive and thrive. They are, Paul and Kelly, in large measure, the reason for the success of the Turner Center Jazz Orchestra. What a treat and inspiration knowing and working with them has been for me. Paul Bridson was the Outstanding Soloist Award. He won the Outstanding Soloist Award at the 1978 Iowa High School Jazz Championships. That was back in the day when there was only one soloist chosen per division out of the scores of schools and hundreds of players. Take that, you saxophonists and trumpeters. He then went on to attend the University of Iowa, where he was a member of the Johnson County Landmark Band, with whom he toured Europe and played at the world-renowned Montreux Jazz Festival. After moving to Austin, Texas, Paul played in various bands and formed a songwriting duo with his brother, producing titles such as Hose Down That Baby, Angry Peas, and Too Much Fun, the latter of which won Children's Song of the Year at the 1987 Austin Songwriters Competition. After moving back to Iowa, Paul began playing with many esteemed Des Moines musicians and groups, like the Taz Band, Hot Lunch, the Farmer Tan Funk Band, NOLA Jazz Band, Paranderos Latin Combo, Party Gras Jazz Band, and the Max Wellman Big Band. Paul has been also the first call to play behind a host of national acts, including 10,000 Maniacs, The Temptations, The Fifth Dimension, Sarah Vaughan, Red Skelton, Tommy Dorsey, Kurt Elling, Glenn Miller, Frankie Avalon, Bobby Rydell, Bobby V, and Paul Anka, among many others. Importantly, Paul has been the lead trombonist for the legendary Des Moines Big Band for an incredible 29 years. In its 60-year history, there have been, and you heard it earlier, only two regular lead trombonists in the Des Moines Big Band, Steve Stewart, affectionately known as Toad, and Paul. Paul, since learning about your predecessor's nickname, I have been thinking about what we can start calling you instead of just Paul. A nickname would be appropriate because you are held in such high esteem and affection by so many of your fellow musicians. Please help me congratulate Paul Bridson as a 2021 inductee to the Greater Des Moines Community Jazz Center's Jazz Hall of Fame.
Well done. Please present him with this award. Okay, now wait a minute. I always sit on this side of you. Okay, yeah. Paul plays lead. He's kind of in the middle, but I play third trombone. That's the easiest part of the entire band. And I'm always on this side of Paul. The Community Jazz Center proudly inducts Paul Bridson into the Jazz Hall of Fame. This award is presented in recognition of significant contributions to the jazz community in the greater Des Moines metropolitan area. You have truly inspired the past, present, and future generations, presented this 24th day of October in the year 2021.
Thank you. Yeah, you're the man. Okay. Hold on just a sec.
He's back.
I'm back. I'm going to try not to ruin his drum set. All right, I'm an old guy. I need reading glasses. Take off the other ones first. There. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks to the CJC, really, from the bottom of my heart. This is, well, it's the best thing. And I'm just humbled and honored, and just in love with all of you people. That's all there is to it. And thanks to my friends for speaking on my behalf. That was really great. There's just nothing like the family of musicians here in Des Moines and really Iowa. The jazz community is warm and welcoming, like the music itself. So that's just a wonderful thing. Now, it's a really common cliche that behind every great man is a great woman, right? But I'd like to take the gender completely out of that and just say that behind every person's achievement, there's often the assistance of a great partner. And there's no one for whom this is more true than me. When I moved back to Iowa back in 1991, I was at a real crossroads in my life. I was in a crisis, really. I'd spent my last couple $100 driving my ratty old pickup truck back from Austin, Texas, and was currently, at the age of 30, living in my parents' basement. Cliches. Now, while I had gotten work at Riemann Music, I really wasn't in a great place. I was kind of spiraling. I was probably drinking too much, smoking a lot, cigarettes, and chronically depressed, really. So it's just nothing short of a complete miracle that precisely 4 months after coming back to Des Moines, I met Kelly Sargent. Her intelligence, loyalty, and devotion to me is the axis on which my world turned that very day in May of 1992, away from decay and towards rebirth. I had given up on being a trombone player some years before I came back, but her encouragement and feedback, try that other mouthpiece, honey, that one makes you sound like a duck. That got me back in the game. She's had some wonderful comments over the years. In the almost 30 years since, she's been my absolutely necessary partner in my musical journey. She reminds me to practice. She tells me what sounds good and what doesn't, and she does it honestly. She's attended many hundreds of my performances, literally. She's helped cultivate audiences for me. She's gotten email addresses and worked rooms while I was playing. Given her considerable talents in marketing and design towards promoting all of my endeavors, whether I was in charge of them or not. Driven to meet me when I forgot my music, run home to grab a music stand, taped sheet music with me, and encourage every single one of my new band projects, whether they were harebrained or not. And honestly, not only did she save my musical career, she saved my life. So when I make music, it's really both of us playing. There'd be no me without her. So everybody, please give it up for Kelly. I love her more than I have a right to. I'm just overjoyed to be here tonight with everybody. The jazz community is just incredible here in Des Moines, and the CJC, wow, what a great event and what a great mission the CJC has. Look at the generations of people that have been influenced by this organization. Let's just have a hand for the CJC. And obviously, nobody gets anywhere on their own. It's just not possible. Ayn Rand. We know how I feel about that. So I'd like to thank a few people who helped to get me here. First and foremost would be my mother, who died sadly about 6 months ago. Mom filled our home with music from the time of my birth. She was a beautiful singer and piano player, and oh my gosh, by the time I was 5, she had me singing selections from Oliver for the family, right? We'd have concerts in our living room. My sister Lori's over here. She had to participate in those as well. I think there was a dream of maybe taking the show on the road, but we didn't get there. And my dad, who's right over there as well, the first trombone player in the family, who played the trombone for me, and he's the guy who put the horn in my hands in the 5th grade. So we have him to thank for the whole rest of it. And also, I want to thank some of the really important educators in my life. Mr. Bear in junior high, great band director. Steve McCombs, Dan Peterson, Roger Cody. Anybody know Dr. Cody? Dr. Cody had 4 rules in his jazz band. Wear a clean shirt, show up on time, swing your ass off, and don't pimp the doctor. Dan Yoder and George Cram, those were my biggies. And then I want to thank my musical family, the men and women that I play with and for every day. Everybody from the Des Moines Big Band, all of you guys over the years, anybody that's ever been in that organization has been a wonderful influence on me. And I will hold you dear to my heart for the rest of my life. The Turner Center Jazz Orchestra, and literally every other group I've ever played with, who were all filled with wonderful, generous people who gave of their time and expertise. I want to have a special shout out to a few people who were very important to me when I first moved back to Des Moines. First one is Toad Stewart, who we were talking about earlier, Steve Stewart. Yeah, Steve, you can't say enough what an incredible player he was. He could have been, well, if he hadn't been committed to staying in Iowa and raising his family, Bill Harris would have had him on that big band, and he would have been touring the country, and everyone would have known who Toad Stewart was. But he stayed here, and we were lucky to have that talent here. And I can't even tell you. I started listening to him when I was junior high kid, probably, the first time I heard him. Next, Janie Hooper, when I moved back to town. Janie Hooper was a source of constant encouragement and love and camaraderie, and I always adored her and always loved playing with her, and she just taught me so much about bringing heart to music. And Scott Smith over here. Scott Smith was, you know, I think you were my first paying gig in Iowa. So thanks so much, everybody, from the bottom of my heart, so much.
They're going to play a song for us.
Oh, I have to play?
Yes, a couple of songs. He has to go find his trombone. Hopefully he'll find the rest of the rhythm section as well. But once again, this is a fundraiser. I put a bucket up here, and there's a bucket on your way out if you have enjoyed yourself tonight. Support the CJC. Paul Bridson. CJC Hall of Fame. We've got a couple more surprises for you. I think Paul and Jason are going to play a very special song for you. I'm not sure if anyone else is involved with that or not, but it's up to Jason. The two Hall of Fame inductees for this year chose a song that they wanted to play for you. And then after that, we'll have another surprise.
It's kind of a funny story. So we were all asked to play selections, and John, of course, was asking Jason and I both, so get me your tune that you want to play, and so that I can tell the rhythm section and they can prepare. And it turned out we both chose this next tune. So we decided, let's just do it together. And once in a while, Jason and I perform as a duo, and I like the name somebody came up with for us, PB and J. You like that? Mark Dorfel. You did that? You're the man. So does that mean we have to give him 2% now? 2% of nothing? How do you want to start? It's called Dolphin Dance.
Thank you very much. Hall of Fame inductees. We're going to do one more quick thing. Don't leave, guys. You don't know about this, but it's just 2 years ago we did a jam, a blues jam afterwards. And I think I've got a couple of singers going to come up here and join us. Maybe I'm hoping. Okay, so what do you guys want? F, B flat, medium, up, B flat. We're going to close it out. We got Antonio Garza coming back, and anybody else that wants to play that's got a horn or whatever you want to do. Susie's going to play the bass.
We control the means of production.
For real. Yes, great to see you.
Got the shorter one. You want the shorter one?
Probably not, no.
The struggle of the urban proletariat.
I can get up on it.
I know. I see you on those keys.
Oh, are you kidding me? That's funny.
There was a shorter stool we had earlier.
Yeah, I think there was a shorter
We good?
somewhere. There's one right here. Is this?
No, this is good.
This gonna work better?
This is good.
All right.
Now I need a mic.
Brian, we need a mic for Tina and a mic for Susie. So I'm going to take this mic stand back here for Susie.
He's grabbing the stool. Where's the shorter one? It's going to be too short, John.
They don't have that at the young ones. They used to have. I don't know if I can take that down. Was that too high for you?
I just can't get up on it.
I get it.
Yeah, that's good.
See if that'll lock in there. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm here for you.
Hey, while they're putting that together, can we also thank real quick a hero of this evening, an unsung hero, Brian Dodson, running sound all night for everyone.
Wow, you sound great.
Yay! Thank you, Brian.
That's okay. Are you, what ad are we doing? Tina?
I'm cool with whatever you want.
All right.
Whatever you want. Did we say B flat? Heartbreak got me such a heartbreak. Talking about a heartbreak, and it's killing me. Waking the days, rocks in my head. My baby left me and I wish I was dead. Talk about a heartbreak, got me such a heartbreak. Got me such a heartbreak, and it's hurting me. You got it, Tina. Heartbreak got me such a heartbreak. Heartbreak, talking about a heartbreak. Got me such a heartbreak, and it's hurting me. Well, it led me to believe that I was only high. This morning I was happy, but tonight I got it bad. Talking about a heartbreak. A heartbreak. Got me such a heartbreak, and it's killing me. Killing me. Heartbreak. Heartbreak. Such a heartbreak. Talk about a heartbreak, and it's killing me. All right.
Thank you for coming out and supporting this very special event tonight, the 20th anniversary of the CJC Hall of Fame. We love you guys. It's wonderful. Great stuff tonight. Hope you had a good time. Support the CJC, okay? We hope to be back next year. And congratulations to all of our honorees tonight.